Do you ever feel like you're missing hidden tricks in Vim that everyone else know? Well, you're in luck because in this video we're going to be exploring some of the lesser known Vim tips and tricks that will potentially change your workflow. From advanced text manipulation to hidden shortcuts, we're going to cover it all. So sit back, relax, and prepare to take your Vim game to the next level. Let's get started. The first tip is somewhat niche, but it's a great time saver. So in Vim, the number increment feature allows users to quickly increment or decrement a number by a specified value. The default is 1, and I'll explain. To use it, simply place the cursor on the number you want to increment and press either Ctrl-A to increment or Ctrl-X to decrement. The number will either be incremented or decremented by 1. To increment or decrement a number by a different value, such as 5, you can try and use the setNR formats command, which I will not show here, but it's definitely an option. Next up on the list is the command history within Vim. If I go to help history, we can read a little bit about how to use that history if we want to. The better use for me is to use Telescope and then find out the history of whatever commands I tried running last. And if I actually want to use it, I go for colon and then use the up arrow to search whatever command I'm looking for. So next, I'm gonna try and edit a file that's not really editable. By that I mean that only sudoers are allowed to edit it. So I'm trying to write something and immediately I get a warning that says you're trying to change a read-only file. Now what happens if I've already done some work and it's not that easy to leave Vim and come back only to re-edit the same file? Maybe I want to do it in place. If I try to just save it, I'm getting an error which it's read-only, can't use it, do something else. Permission denied. Let's try and use something else actually. So I'm gonna run W, meaning write, and then sudo t2%, which means write it into this file. Percent is this file, so write the same buffer into the existing one, but use the command line sudo. This actually rewrites the file in place as if you were sudo, and then you can edit things without exiting Vim and coming back. Sometimes it's not all that clear which file you're writing in, and writing command file can help you see that. Another cool feature is writing pwd, which is the present working directory. You can also see that. A nice Easter egg is looking for help 42. And if you know the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, then this sounds probably familiar. For the next super useful tip, I'm gonna open a new tab and divide it into a few sections. Those are just going to be random splits. And I'm gonna type make session, and with mksession, that's the command, I'm going to see a new file that's called session.vim. And session.vim is basically a memory that remembers everything I did in my session, including the structure of my windows, my tabs, my buffers, everything that was open. And then when I'm ready to use it, I can just run vim -s for session and then pick the session file. When I do that, Vim opens up exactly to the same session, remembering everything I did. Same two tabs, same windows, same splits, everything's in place. That's really useful. You can obviously automate that and have the session automatically save itself up every time you either save a file or automatically every few seconds. There are plugins for that and that'll keep you always safe and crash proof. If you want to learn more about buffers, check out the video on the top right corner. One more important note, if you're already running Vim and did not open your session, you can source it anytime from within Vim and get the exact same result. Okay, let's talk about saving files. When you use W or write and give a name, Vim saves the file into the name given. So even though I've saved to some other name, when I run the F command or the file command, I get the main.go, meaning I'm still using the same file that I originally started editing. If I use the save or save as command and I write to some other name too, now that I run the file, I can actually see that Vim's editing the new name that I gave it. This is a useful feature to decide whether you want to back up the same file you're working on or actually rename it and start working on the new copy that you've just created. If you're wondering why I have so much text highlighted in front of you, check this out. Vim lets you fold code. With ZF, I can actually create a fold and fold everything under either my visual selection or a number of rows that I can provide. ZA would actually toggle it back and forth so you can open and close an existing fold. Folds can be deleted, they can be expanded on the entire file or just a specific one. When you fold, you can see how many lines were folded and the first line of text that introduces the block that was folded. Another unknown feature is Vim's ability to open a specific file. So if you try to open %, which is the current buffer, Vim tries to look for a relevant application to open it. Since I'm trying to open a Go file, it's not really relevant, but if I were to open an HTML file, for example, which I'll now create, then Vim can actually send that to the browser and present it in front of me. And so by hitting open % again, you can see the amazing HTML file that I just created popping up in my browser. Next up is something you probably already know. So if you use tilde and try to change the uppercase of a certain string or a lowercase, it changes the case right away. So right here, I'm marking and using tilde to change the case, and you can see it popping back and forth. But did you know that you can actually hit U for under? And if you hit U, everything goes to lowercase, regardless of what it was before. It's not toggling or changing anything. The next feature that's not commonly used is the spell function in Vim. It's not commonly used because we mostly write code and not actual text, although we do write comments and descriptions. And in these cases, spell might come in handy. So if you set local spell and add the spell language to be English, like so, you can then start toggling the spelling mechanism using set spell. And then you can see the lines that don't make sense or the word that don't make sense underlined and colored in red. You can speak to the spelling mechanism by adding words, telling them whether that word is good or bad. For example, if I'm writing a certain word like I have and I want to do it with lowercase and it makes sense to me for whatever reason, I can use the shortcut to add it to the dictionary. I can move between errors using closing and opening bracket and S for spell, and then back and forth I can jump between them. If you see words that are marked as misspelled, but they are actually words that you want to use, you can use the features of spell good or spell bad to tell the spell checker whether this word should be part of your flow or isn't. So by saying spell good, I'm actually telling the system that this word shouldn't be marked as misspelled. Here I'm using ZG to do exactly that and tell the speller that I've with a lowercase I is an actual word that I want to use. I can revert it by telling the spell checker that this is actually a bad word using ZW. Do you ever find yourself going back from insert mode to normal mode just for one action? Well, you can stop doing that using Ctrl-O. Ctrl-O while in insert mode can actually pop you back into normal mode for one single command. So if I were to open a new line, I can just type whatever I want, hit Ctrl-O, then O again to open a new line, and then I'm straight back into insert mode and I can keep writing. I use it all the time and it's definitely something to integrate into your muscle memory. Let's talk about splits for a moment. If you want the full video about splits and the relations to buffer, I'll link it up here in the window. But in many cases, we sometimes split the screen, whether vertically or horizontally, but we want to change the orientation to something else. Ctrl-W-T, Ctrl-W-K will take you from vertical to horizontal split, whereas Ctrl-W-T, Ctrl-W-H will take you from horizontal to a vertical split. One quick tip is to use shift and down arrow to squeeze up lines and concatenate them with one another. Moving on to a trick that you probably know, but maybe not to its full extent. You probably know that you can CIW to change in word or CI quotes to change in quotes. But did you know that you can operate it from wherever you want? You can be at the beginning of the line or above the entire section, like here, where I'm actually changing things within a function by going to the brackets when I'm a few lines above them. It's also worth mentioning that you don't have to do motion in something. You can actually do motion around something, as in CA brackets would change around the brackets, meaning the contents within them, but the brackets themselves would be included in the change. Next up is Vim's way of letting you sort lists. So you can visually mark any kind of list and just sort it. Here I'm adding n for a numerical sort. You can do the same with the ABC. If you add U to the sort command line, then you get a unique list. So if I have a duplication here like -2, adding U will remove one of the -2s, and that is really helpful when you're trying to sort out things in your code. The same obviously can be done with alphabetical list, and here I have an unsorted list. If I just would send it with sort, you get a sorted list. Sorting characters can also be done with the unique flag, so here I'll be getting rid of one of the characters and the list works the same. Last but not least, something that's probably not that obvious is the options command. The options command show you a list of options, which are settings you can change within neovim, maybe set them to a Boolean result or some kind of a number that represents a level of something. So you can see folding and tabs, displaying text, displaying tags, etc., etc. Everything that's optional as a configuration within neovim appears right here. Okay, so that's it for this one. I hope you got all the tips that you expected to see. Please, obviously, as always, leave comments. Tell me if I got something wrong, or if I missed something, or if I should have had something here that you think was completely missed. I hope you like it. What I'm going to add here is the full Vim playlist that I have in my channel. And on the other end, if you haven't seen yet, the secret to learning neovim, Vim displayed with its options and commands from A to Z in English. Go check it out.